Shabbat Shalom, Yashala, Shabbat Shalom. Yahawah by Yashala, coming out with another episode of Bringing Out the Precepts. First and foremost, I want to give all praise and glory to Yahawah, Ba'ashem, Mashiach Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rekah Kadash, True Father's name, Deliver and Savior's name in ancient Paleo Hebrew, Lashawan Kodash. Yahawah by Yashala, coming out with another episode of Bringing Out the Precepts on this holy Sabbath. I'm going to title this Sit Down. For lo, thy enemies, they that hate thee. For lo, thy enemies, they that hate thee. All praises to the Most High, Yahawah Hashem Yahushua, on this holy Sabbath. First precept I'm going to bring out, let's go to the book of Genesis, Genesis 15. And I'm going to start at the 13th verse. Genesis 15 and 13. And it reads, And he said unto Abram, Know of a surety that thy seed shall be a stranger in a land that is not theirs, and shall serve them, and they shall afflict them 400 years. Verse 14, And also that nation whom they shall serve will I judge, and afterward shall they come out of with great substance. Okay, Genesis 15 and 13. And he said unto Abram, Know for a surety that thy seed shall be a stranger in a land that is not theirs, and shall serve them, and they shall afflict them 400 years. Just to show why the Most High is judging this wicked land, Babylon the Great, the United States of America. Let's get a precept. Let's go into the New Testament. Acts 7 and verse 6. Acts 7 and verse 6 reads, And the Most High spake on this wise, that his seed should sojourn in a strange land, and that they shall bring them into bondage, and entreat them evil 400 years. Read it again. And the Most High spake on this wise, that his seed should sojourn in a strange land, and they that should bring them into bondage, and entreat them evil 400 years. Acts 7 and verse 7, And the nation to whom they shall be in bondage will I judge, saith Yahawah. And after that they shall come forth and serve me in this place. I bring out these two precepts, one in the Old Testament, one in the New Testament, precept upon precept, to show that the Most High is judging this land for what they've done to his people till this day. For lo, thy enemies, they that hate thee. Okay, let's get another precept. Let's go to the book of Exodus. Exodus 23, and I'm going to read from the 21st verse. Exodus 23 and verse 21 reads, Beware of him and obey his voice. Provoke him not, for he will not pardon your transgressions, for my name is in him. Exodus 23 and verse 22. But if thou shalt indeed obey his voice and do all that I speak, then I will be an enemy unto thy enemies, and an adversary unto thine adversaries. Read it again, Exodus 23 and verse 22. But if thou shalt indeed obey his voice and do all that I speak, then I will be an enemy unto thine enemies, and an adversary unto thine adversary. Okay, so the Most High, if we follow the law, statute, commandments, he's going to turn our enemies into his enemies, and our adversaries into thine adversaries. Point blank period. For lo, thy enemies, they that hate thee. Let's get another precept. Let's go to Leviticus. Leviticus 26 and verse 7. Leviticus 26 and verse 7 reads, And ye shall be chased, and your enemies, and they shall fall before you by the sword. And ye shall be chased, your enemies, and they shall be before you by the sword. Leviticus 26 and verse 8. And 5 of you shall chase 100, and 100 of you shall put 10,000 to flight, and your enemies shall fall before you by the sword. Okay, for lo thy enemies, they that hate thee. Who are the ones that hate us? All the other nations. All the other ones that have hands in our captivity, in our bondage, our evil and treatment for over 400 years that we read in Genesis 15 and Acts 7. Okay? Let's continue. Get another precept. Go to Book of Numbers. Book of Numbers, verse 24. And I'm going to start reading from verse 8. Numbers 24 and verse 8 reads, The Most High brought him forth out of Egypt. He has, as it were, the strength of a unicorn. He shall eat up the nations, his enemies, and shall break their bones and pierce them through with his arrow. Read it again. Numbers 8, Numbers 24 and verse 8. For the Most High brought him forth out of Egypt. He has, as if it were, the strength of a unicorn. He shall eat up the nations, his enemies. Who's the enemies of the Most High and of Israel? All the other nations that have their hands putting the children of Israel into bondage. The Most High brought him forth out of Egypt. He has, as it were, the strength of a unicorn. He shall eat up the nations, his enemies, and shall break their bones and pierce them through with his arrows. Okay? For lo, thy enemies, they that hate thee. The Most High created 18 nations, 17 nations. He's opposed to them, and he hates the other 17 nations, point blank, period. That's what this lesson is all about. For the ones that hate the Most High and the ones the Most High hates. Okay, let's go to the book of Deuteronomy. Deuteronomy 7 and verse 10. Deuteronomy 7 verse 10 reads, And repayeth them that hate him to their face, to destroy them. He will not be slack to him that hateth him. He will repay him to his face. Point blank, period. It's talking about the other nations, to include the 2/3 of the wicked Israelites. You 2/3 clubs that turn away from the law, statute, commandments, and refusing to this day to return to the Most High's law, statute, commandments in these latter days, you will get the same treatment that the other nations are going to get. Point blank, period. Let's get a precept. Let's go to the New Testament. Book of Matthew. Matthew 12 and verse 30. Matthew 12 and verse 30 reads in red letters, Yahawah HaMashiach, who this world ignorantly calls Jesus the Christ, is speaking. Matthew 12 and verse 30. He that is not with me is against me, and he that gathereth not with me scattereth abroad. Read it again. Matthew 12 and verse 30. He that is not with me is against me, and he that gathereth not with me scattereth abroad. For lo, thy enemies, they that hate thee. The Most High hath nations that he created that he hates, and Israel, the children of Israel out here, all these nations, the one that put us into bondage on these slave ships and still have this bondage here in Babylon the Great, the United Snakes, till this day. To this day we're in captivity. Let's get another precept back in the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 20, and I'm going to read verse 3 and 4. Deuteronomy 20 and verse 3 reads, And shall say unto them, Hear, O Israel, ye approach this day unto battle against your enemies. Deuteronomy 20 and verse 3. And shall say unto them, Hear, O Israel, ye approach this day unto battle against your enemies. Let not your heart faint, fear not, and do not tremble. and neither be terrified because of them. Deuteronomy 20 and verse 4. For Yahawah your power is he that goeth with you to fight for you against your enemies, to save you. Beautiful precept. Read it again. Deuteronomy 20 and verse 3. And ye shall say unto them, Hear, O Israel, your approach this day unto battle against your enemies. Let not your heart faint. Fear not, and do not tremble, neither be terrified because of them. Deuteronomy 20 and verse 4. For Yahawah your power is he that goeth with you to fight for you against your enemies, to save you. Point blank period. He's commanding us not to tremble, not to fear them, neither be terrified because of them. Who's them? The other nation. The other nation that's against Yahawah to this day. Put us into captivity, shooting us down, and calling themselves not guilty, as you see to this day. Okay? Let's keep it moving. Deuteronomy 21, and I'm going to read verse 10. Deuteronomy 21 and verse 10, and it reads, When thou goest forth to war against thine enemies, and Yahawah thy power has delivered them into thine hands, and have taken them captives. Read it again. When thou goest forth to war against thy enemies, and Yahawah thy power has delivered them into thy hands, and thou hast taken them captives. A future prophecy. Like in the book of Revelations 13 and verse 10. He that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. He that killeth with a sword must be killed with a sword. So when thou goest forth to war against thy enemies, and Yahawah thy power has delivered them, the Most High is going to deliver all these other nations into our hands, and thou hast taken them captives. Future prophecy. All praise and glory to the Most High. Let's continue in the book of Deuteronomy. Let's get a classic. A lot of people don't even know that these are in the Bible. Deuteronomy 28 and 68. Deuteronomy 28 and 68, and it reads, And Yahawah shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships. Deuteronomy 28 and 68, And Yahawah shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships. Why does it say again? Because in the first Exodus, everybody know the children of Israel, our forefathers walked through the middle of the Red Sea. There was no need for ships. But even after that Exodus out of ancient Egypt, we continued to turn away from the Most High, and he brought us back into slavery. Okay, which turned out to be the transatlantic slave trade in 1619, which we read in the book of Genesis and Acts, that we went in a strange land, and entreated evil for 100 years. Okay, Deuteronomy 28 and verse 60. I'm going to read it again. For all you that don't know, slavery is in the Bible. Well, here it is. Deuteronomy 28 and verse 68. And Yahawah shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships, by the way whereof I spake unto thee. Thou shalt not see it no more again. And there ye should be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen, and no man shall buy you. Okay? Deuteronomy 28 and 68. And Yahawah shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships, by the way whereof I spake unto thee. Thou shalt not see it no more again. What should we not see again? Our homeland, Jerusalem, Israel. And there ye shall be sold unto your enemies. Who sold us? Into the enemies, the other nations. Point blank period. For bondmen, slave men, and bondwomen, slave women. And no man shall buy you. When you look up that word buy, no man shall redeem you. The only one that could take us out of this captivity is Yahawah Mashiach, who this world ignorantly calls Jesus the Christ. But we know he's a Hebrew Israelite from the tribe of Judah. Okay, point blank period. Be sold unto thine enemies. Point blank period. Can't get around this. Let's get a judgment on that. Let's go to the book of Exodus 21 and verse 16. Exodus 21 and verse 16 reads, And he that stealeth a man and selleth him, or if he be found in his hand, he shall surely be put to death. Read it again. And he that stealeth a man and selleth him, or if he be found in his hand, he shall surely be put to death. So we're talking about these wicked nations that put the children of Israel into bondage and slavery to this day, sold us as slave men and slave women. Okay? And if he be found in his hands, when Messiah cracks that sky, the children of Israel still here held captive in this strange land. What is the judgment? He shall surely be put to death. Or praise and glory to Yahawah Shem Yahushai. Can't make this up. You cannot make this up. Let's go back to the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 30 and verse 7. Deuteronomy chapter 30 and verse 7 reads, And Yahawah, thy power, will put all these curses upon thy enemies, and upon them that hate thee, which persecuted thee. Read it again. Deuteronomy 30 and verse 7. And it reads, And Yahawah thy power will put all these curses upon thy enemies, and on them that hate thee, which persecuted thee. Deuteronomy 7 and verse 8. And thou shalt return and obey the voice of Yahawah, and do all his commandments, which I command thee this day. Point blank period. He's going to reverse the curses. We're going to be trading places. Okay, the other nations that put us into captivity, you're going into captivity. Thus saith the Lord, thus saith the Holy Bible. And Yahawah thy power will put all these curses upon thy enemies and on all them that hate thee. We know who hate us, all the other nations out here. Verse 8, And thou shalt return, obey the voice of Yahawah, and do all his commandments which I command thee this day. All praise and glory to the Most High, Yahawah Shem Yahushai. Let's get another precept in the book of Deuteronomy, Deuteronomy 32 and verse 41. Deuteronomy 32 and 41. And it reads, If I wheat my glittering sword, and my hand will take hold on judgment, I will render vengeance to my enemies, and will reward them that hate me. Read it again. Deuteronomy 32 and verse 41. If I wheat my glittering sword, and my hand take hold on judgment, I will render vengeance to my enemies, and will reward them that hate me. Deuteronomy 32 and 42. I will make my arrows drunk with blood, and my sword shall devour flesh, and that which the blood of the slain and of the captives from the beginnings of revengeance upon the enemy. Okay, read it again. Deuteronomy 32 and 42. I will make my arrows drunk with blood, and my sword shall devour flesh, and that with the blood of the slain and of the captives from the beginning of the revenges upon the enemy. All you nations, get ready for the judgment coming to you from the Most High God, Yahawah Shem Mashiach Yahushai. For lo, thy enemies, they that hate thee. We know who you are. You can't hide from us, and you definitely can't hide from the Most High. Point blank, period. Let's get some more precepts. Let's go to 2 Samuel. 2 Samuel chapter 22. And I'm going to read the 38th verse. 2 Samuel 22 and verse 38 reads, I have pursued my enemies. Salakia. 2 Samuel 22 and verse 38. I have pursued my enemies and destroyed them, and turn not again until I have consumed them. All praise and glory to the Most High Yahawah. Shema Mashiach Yahushai. 2 Samuel 22 and verse 38. I have pursued my enemies and destroyed them, and turn not again until I have consumed them. 2 Samuel 22 and verse 39. And I have consumed them and have wounded them, that they could not arise. Yea, they are fallen under my feet. All praise and glory to the Most High. 2 Samuel 22 and verse 40. For thou hast girded me with strength to battle. Them that rose up against me hast thou subdued under me. 2 Samuel 22 and verse 41. Thou hast also given me the necks of thy enemies, that I might destroy them that hate me. Talk about there's no hate in the Bible. All these other nations, all they do is portray hate against the children of Israel to this day. Thus saith the Holy Bible, thus saith the Lord Yahawah. Shema Mashiach Yahushai. All praises to the Heavenly Father. All praises to the Heavenly Father Yahawah. Get some more precepts. 2 Kings verse 17. Salaki, 2 Kings chapter 17. I'm going to read the 39th verse. 2 Kings chapter 17 verse 39 reads, But Yahawah your power ye shall fear, and he shall deliver you out of the hands of your enemies. You can't make this up. 2 Kings 17 and verse 39. But Yahawah your power ye shall fear, and he shall deliver you out of the hands of your enemies. Who are our enemies? All the other 17 nations that had hands in our captivity to this day, gunning us down and treating us evil, like we read in Genesis the 15th chapter and Acts for over 400 years to this day. All of you are our enemies. Point blank, period. Point blank, period. I'm going to read it again because it sounds so sweet. 2 Kings 17 and 39. But Yahawah your power ye shall fear, and he shall deliver you out of the hands of all your enemies. 2 Kings 17 and 40. Howbeit they did not hearken, but they did after their former Salakia. Howbeit they did not hearken, but they did after their former manner. 2 Kings 17 and 41. So these nations feared Yahawah and served their graven images, both their children and their children's children, as did their fathers. So they did unto this day. All you other nations are going to pay for the captivity of putting the children of Israel into bondage. Point blank, period. For lo, thy enemies, they that hate thee. All you other nations going to pay. Thus saith the Lord. Let's go to the book of Psalms. Book of Psalms, chapter 21, and I'm going to read verse 8. Psalms 21 and verse 8 reads, Thy hand shall find out all thy enemies. Thy right hand shall find out those that hate thee. Read it again. Psalms 21 and verse 8. Thine hand shall find out all thy enemies. Thy right hand shall find out those that hate thee. Psalms 21 and verse 9. Thou shalt make them as a fiery oven. In the time of thine anger, Yahawah shall swallow them up in his wrath, and the fire shall devour them. All praise and glory to the Most High Yahawah, Ba'Shem HaMashiach Yahushai, Ba'Shem Rakakadash. I'm going to read it again because it sounds so sweet. Psalms 21 and verse 8. Thy hand shall find out all thy enemies. Thy right hand shall find out those that hate thee. Psalms 21 and verse 9. Thou shalt make them a fiery oven in the time of thine anger. Yahawah shall swallow them up in his wrath, and the fire shall devour them. Psalms 21 and verse 10. Their fruit shalt thou destroy from the earth, and their seed from the children of men. All praise and glory to the Heavenly Father. Psalms 21 and verse 11. For they intended evil against thee, and they imagined a mischievous device which they are not able to perform. All these so-called New World Order plans, they can do whatever they want to do, but we already know the ending of this story. We already know the ending of this movie. The Most High is the director. This is his movie, and his prophets throughout the four corners of the earth know the truth of the Bible. Okay? For their intended evil against thee, they imagined a mischievous device which they are not able to perform. Giving all praise and glory to the Most High Yahawah, Ba'Shem HaMashiach Yahushai. I'm going to cut this one right here, Israel. I'm going to come out with part 2. For lo, thy enemies, all that hate thee, all you other nations, you're going to be judged by the Most High God. Thus saith the Lord, thus saith the Holy Bible. That's why you see all these storms and all the tornadoes, everything that's going on throughout this earth, the pestilence, the famine, everything that's going on is all in the hands of the Most High God, Yahawah. Israel, we got to endure to the end. Shabbat Shalom. Until then, till the next time, Shalom.